Hello, friends. Welcome back. It's been way too long. I've been missing. Where is not nice Cole? Where the hell is not nice Cole? Keep it a short intro though. UFC Fight Night. Colby Covington versus Joaquin Buckley. The last UFC event of 2024. 2024 was a great year for fights, man. It's a decent year overall, actually. If I'm gonna be honest, but enough of that. Like I said, last UFC event of the year. It's going to be a little wait until the next one and until January. Christmas is coming up, though. Without further ado, let's just get into these fights. Starting off with the early prelim opener of Piera Rodriguez, a.k.a. Piera La Fiera, versus Josephine Knudsen. It's spooky hours straight off the bat with this one. There's actually a lot of good fights on this, and I think this is going to be a decent enough fight. It's a pretty evenly matched fight, actually. The records on paper, specifically for Piera, might be a little bit deceptive. On paper, she's coming off of 2 losses in general. Literally, she's coming off of 2 losses. But one of those losses was a DQ loss via headbutt. And Piera did headbutt this chick. She did it a couple times, actually. She was warned to stop. She was mounted on top of the other girl and then headbutted her a couple times. She was winning that fight, though. I say all that to say this. I'm going with Josephine Knudsen here. However, if Josephine Knudsen turns out just to be straight up evenly matched in terms of striking and she gets taken down and controlled across the entire fight, it wouldn't be the most surprising thing in the world. I've said this before on this channel. There's a spooky trend of me with the early prelim opener. I'm usually so fucking confident and it gets smoked. It doesn't matter how much research I do into it. It's not even a coin toss. It's not in my favor. I'm pretty sure if you go back through all the videos, early prelim opener is probably on a downtrend, on a losing trend. But I digress. I've already spoken enough about that. I do feel like Josephine Knudsen should take this one. I do think that she'll be better on the feet in striking exchanges. Like I said, Piera's biggest threat is a mix of her strength and her grappling. That's really it here. But Knudsen is pretty strong herself. A little bit younger than Piera. She is a little bit younger than Piera. I do like the reach advantage that Piera has, but I don't think it's going to be utilized in the best fashion, the most optimal fashion. Josephine Knudsen by decision is the official pick. Moving on to but really the first great fight to start it off. Ramon the Savage Taveras, man. We meet again versus, that's who I thought, this man Davy Grant, old man Davy Grant. Now, Davy boy, Davy lad. This is a rough one. This is a rough one because I've spoken about this with multiple styles, multiple fighters that have a similar style to Ramon Taveras. Obviously, everyone is unique. But Ramon Taveras fights like a savage. He's allowed to do that, really, because of his durability and his chin. People do hurt Ramon Taveras occasionally, but he can usually take it, keep going. The Surrey City shit was always controversial. And he got it back, even though that was arguable. Some people thought he got robbed. Also, big shout out to Ramon Taveras' son. I believe his name is Leonidas, because he commented, one of the first OG commentators on any one of my videos. He commented on a short when I did Surrey City versus Ramon Taveras 2. And that was just cool. Just a little shout out to him. Shout out to the Taveras family. Hopefully it's been a good training camp. Everything is going well for them. I'm picking Ramon Taveras here to win. This is going to be spooky, though, because Davy Grant could finish Ramon Taveras. Honestly, anyone could finish Ramon Taveras. I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. It's just, that's the nature, that's the other side of the coin of having a chin, being known as a tough guy. You can only be known as a tough guy or being a durable guy if you're taking damage, if people are hurting you and you survive. That's the only way. Eventually, you'll have to pay that price. I just think it's a matter of when for Ramon Taveras, but he should win this one. I do expect him to win this one very calmly. This fight, I don't think is going to be good in the sense of it's going to be back and forth or extremely competitive. It might be a good spectacle, as in we're going to see someone get stomped the fuck out. But the next fight being Miranda Maverick versus Jamie Lynn Horth. Jamie Lynn Horth will never again... She's like an emotional fade now on this channel. She will never be picked again on this channel. It will always be a fade. Why? Because she really... This isn't the fucking Jamie Lynn Horth hate hour. That was 2 weeks ago. But Jamie Lynn Horth is dog shit, man. She's fucking dog shit. She's dog shitty. All you got to do is just get your hands around her. Just literally clasp your hands, get a grip. Get a fucking grip. That's what someone should be telling Jamie Lynn Horth, but that's what her opponents do to her. They get a grip, it's over. It's fucking over. It is absolutely fucking over. Jamie Lynn Horth's last performance made me almost break down on stream. No bullshit. I almost turned off the stream. I was almost done. I was coping hard. I was beyond coping. I was just grieving. I was straight up grieving over the fucking atrocious combat that I watched. Moving on, another great fight. Felipe Lima versus Miles Johns. I'm going with Felipe Lima here. Not only did he impress me, I'm sure he impressed a lot of people. He was actually kind of a not full hero, but he slayed the little dirty rat that is Muhammad Naimov. We all know that. I've been backing Muhammad Naimov for a while, but it got to the point, and I think a lot of people actually got to this point, where they started to prey on Muhammad Naimov's downfall because of multiple things. One, he's a little bit of a dirty fighter. Two, this is now like approaching conspiracy basically, but it totes the line of conspiracy. He gets away with a lot of stuff. That's past being a dirty fighter. It's one thing to be a dirty fighter, but if you always get punished and you're getting DQ'd, that's the consequences of those actions. That's the punishment. But Naimov usually gets away with it. The dude looks like he's on roids. And there were some fights where obviously he was just knocking people the fuck out, but he was skirting a little bit. He was skirting by, getting by. The first time around with Jamie Malarkey. Jamie Malarkey beating that ass. Gets one shot in round 2, I think. It is what it is. And Nathaniel Wood beating that ass. We know what happened there. Felipe Lima was the one to get it done. It was the one for all of us, unsung hero, Felipe Lima. Shout out to the Jungle Boy. We're going with him again. Because Miles Johns, to his credit, has gotten a lot better. But I think if you watched that Cody Gibson fight live, you were just like, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck am I actually watching now? And he has gotten better, though. That's the thing that scares me. He actually has gotten a lot better since then in rapid time. And really, he's made a lot of dramatic improvements. But I think Felipe Lima, from what I've seen, he has the potential to at least break out to be a little bit something more. Miles Johns might be a little bit more tested, specifically in the UFC. But I do think Felipe Lima has a little something, very young, 26 years old. Moving on, Sean Woodson versus Fernando Padilla. Actually kind of a tough one for me to pick. They didn't give Woodson a pipsqueak. It's actually, I take that back. They usually don't even give Woodson pipsqueaks. It's the fact that Woodson is the slender man. He's the tall man walking around. He's the hungry skeleton. But he can fight. He can fight. That golden gloves that he has it's no joke. You can see it. That's how he wins fights, actually. I'm going with Sean Woodson here. I was saying all that stuff about size and pipsqueaks because Fernando Padilla is not a pipsqueak. He is slightly smaller than Sean Woodson, I believe. He's 1 inch smaller and has 2 inches shorter reach. That's 6'1" and a 76-inch reach, which is still pretty big for their weight class. I did see someone in Tapology comments saying that he is the second biggest featherweight on the roster. So, like I said, no pipsqueaks. Should be a bit of a tougher fight for Sean, especially if he gets pressured heavy, which he sometimes doesn't respond well to. But if Sean Woodson can get into his rhythm, make it a kind of a point fight, a range striking battle, specifically more of a boxing match, he's probably going to win by a calm, unanimous decision. And that is the pick, ultimately. Maybe not unanimous decision, but Sean Woodson by decision is the pick here. Moving on, Drakkar Klose versus Joel Alvarez, man. Joel Alvarez, a dude who is an absolute fucking killer. Very gifted physically in terms of his frame and stature. Combined with a talented, diverse skill set. It's really all there is to it. Drakkar Klose is nowhere near as bad as maybe people might think, and I think he actually did win his last fight. That was the thing. I think he knocked someone out, too. A lot of people... he's actually been on a streak. Little streak. A little streak. Damn, he actually hasn't fought in a while. But yeah, the Beneil Dariush shit really set Drakkar Klose back. I never bought the Benil Dariush hype. I digress. Drakkar Klose is actually good. He's actually good, and he's a strong fighter. Joel Alvarez is huge in comparison to him, though, and is equally, if not the more dangerous, more lethal fighter, the more well-rounded fighter, definitely. And the way that Joel fights, man, he hurts people. He fucking hurts people. And when he hurts people, he capitalizes on it, and he usually finishes them. Even people that are tough as hell to finish, like Elvis Brenner. Like, it's real rough here, man. The Joel Alvarez matchup is not a particularly friendly one. I do think that he's going to get it done. I think that instead of maybe hurting someone, like getting the club and sub, he might actually just finish out Drakkar Klose just at range. Literally a couple sharp, straight shots. Maybe a nice little 1-2 just sets it up for the TKO in round 2. I don't know why. That's kind of what just pops into my head. Moving on, Michael Johnson versus Armen Azaitar. And we are confronted with the process of picking a Michael Johnson fight. What do I mean by that? I mean that Michael Johnson is an extremely talented fighter. He's just chinny, he gets caught, and he's older now. That it is what it is. That's the thing. I think that Michael Johnson is a better fighter than Armen Azaitar. But I could see Armen catching him. It's real fucking rough here. I'm going to tentatively pick Michael Johnson to win. And then here's where we start getting crazy, okay? We start getting crazy because now I get into the realm of like, this dude actually hasn't got to finish. He's due. I think Michael Johnson is actually, I'm just going to cut it short. Michael Johnson due for a big win, round 3 KO TKO. Call me crazy. I might be crazy. Might just be straight foolish. He might get finished in round 1. But that's what I feel. We're going with a lot of gut instinct today. Obviously, this video is going to come out hours before the fights. And if you tuned in to the Smoky Hours live stream, which will absolutely be on later tonight, you'll know it was just a weird week for me last week. It's also been an equally weird, not equally, slightly less weird, but similar funky week for me. Similar funky week, but I think these fights will make up for it. Moving on, Navajo Sterling. I hope that's how you say it, and not Navajo Sterling, because I know that he is from Australia or New Zealand, Oceania, something like that, right? So, actually, I'm not too familiar with Sterling. Tuco Tokos, I think, has had one fight in the UFC. I do remember him fighting someone. Oh, he fought Omar Sy and got subbed. Yes. I do think that Tuco Tokos maybe is not UFC caliber. There is, of course, the chance that fucking Navajo Sterling is not UFC caliber as well. That's the one thing that's really scaring me here. I'm going with Navajo Sterling to win. A lot younger, noticeable reach advantage. And he has been finishing all of his fights. But here's the thing. This is kind of a similar Tom Nolan situation. Yes, he's finished fights in stupendous fashion. The people he's fighting are basically bums. And he is green as a motherfucker. He is green as a motherfucker. There's no two ways to put that. There really are no two ways to put that. 5-0. It's rough. We're going to be going with him. I think he'll probably get it done in round 1 or round 2, from what I understand. But for the odds that are listed right now on Tapology, minus 825 for a dude making their fucking debut, that's craziness to me. That is craziness to me. He's done nothing to earn that. Absolutely nothing. Now, that might be more of Tuco Tokos has earned the dog status, The underdog status, I should say, not dog status, as you might think in colloquial fashion. But I will take a chance on the prospect, especially over a dude like Tuco Tokos. Again, no disrespect. It is what it is. Moving on. To a dude, this is one of my most hyped fights of the nights. I've been talking about Peruvian fighters, emotionally backing Peruvian fighters. And there's one dude that I always bring up. The one Peruvian dude who has not let us fucking down. He actually came in with a mission. He's still on the mission. Danny Marcos. Daniel Marcos, Soncora. It's craziness, man. Daniel Marcos versus Adrian Yanez. Obviously, I'm going with Daniel Marcos. I'm going to say by decision, but you're going to see, if you're not familiar, if you don't know, now you know about Daniel Marcos. Daniel Marcos is the best fighter coming out of Peru right now. He has been the best fighter out of Peru. Daniel Marcos is like what Gaston Bolaños thinks he could be in like MMA. Not even that was craziness to say. But he actually fights well, fights very smart, adapts to his opponent. Had a rough out against Arichi Lang because he was beating the fuck out of Arichi Lang, and then some foul happened, some foul took place, and that fight ended up in a no contest. Yes, in a no contest. Daniel Marcos is the pick. I think he's going to put on a show. I'm very excited for that fight. Moving on. Dustin Jacoby versus Vitor Petrino. What I think to be actually one of the hardest fights to pick on this card because, again, in a similar situation to Michael Johnson versus Adman Azaitar, I think Dustin Jacoby is a better fighter than Vitor Petrino. Right? But that's just talking about fighting skill. Not entire combat prowess. I'm talking about offensive fighting skill. We'll say striking too, actually. Because I really am thinking of striking. Dustin Jacoby, absolutely talented kickboxer, talented striker. You can see it when he fights. He actually is fucking talented. It is a shame that he doesn't really have much of a chin anymore. And he is susceptible to getting chinned and knocked the fuck out. But up until those moments, man, he's looking good. It's just he can't handle it. He just can't take it. He can't take the shots. Vitor Petrino is a heavy-hitting dude. Got fraud checked. Low-key fraud checked because Anthony Smith is still, despite his last outing, he smoked Vitor Petrino. So, depends on that. I could see Vitor coming out relatively running through Dustin Jacoby as he has done to multiple people in the past. I do think that Dustin Jacoby, though, at range, in a technical fight, should win. Am I crazy for that? Maybe. Possibly. Quite possibly. Because I still am going to have to pick Vitor Petrino. I'm not going to pick Dustin Jacoby. But if Dustin wins, that would be a great win for him. If Vitor loses, this would be the start, possibly, of the end. I know that's very, very final, but just what I believe. I am going with Vitor Petrino to win this one. How? Fuck. I guess he does. He runs through him, right? If it's an extended technical fight that goes the distance, Dustin Jacoby should outpoint him, right? He should. He just should. He just should. Damn, am I going to switch up to Dustin Jacoby? No. But we'll just leave it at Vitor Petrino. Moving on, Manel Kape, the star boy, versus Bruno Silva. Bruno Silva coming off of one of the nastiest, most brutal knockouts probably in the last 3 months. I think that was less than 3 months ago, at least. It was the thumbnail of my recap video for that. It was actually 3 months and 2 weeks ago, to be exact. This man was fighting Cody Durden, Bruno Silva, I'm talking about here. He was getting his ass whooped, beaten, smoked by Cody Durden in round 3. Bruno Silva throws an uppercut from hell. It smoked Cody Durden. Cody Durden, it was Dim Mak. He actually hit him with Dim Mak. Death touch. You can't survive that shit. The little sound effect played. Shit slowed down for a second. Hit him with Dim Mak. It's over. But he was getting fucked up by Cody Durden, man. He was getting fucked up by Cody Durden. Manel Kape, better or for worse, was able to... He was at times out grappling fucking... God, what's his name? I'm tweaking big time. Muhammad Mokaev. Like, there were bizarre moments in the Mokaev fight where I was like, how the fuck is Manel Kape getting outstruck like head kicked combination outstruck by fucking Muhammad Makayev, and yet Manel Cap was taking down and out grappling fucking Muhammad Makayev at point. It was bizarre, man. It's bizarre. But I do say that to say, I do think that Manel Cap isn't just going to get controlled by Bruno Silva, and I think that he'll be able to obviously outstrike Bruno Silva. Bruno Silva is not a little guy, though. It's going to be spooky, but I think Manel Cap winning by decision here is calm. This is actually a fight that I forgot about, but it is hard to pick, and it should be gas, actually. Cub Swanson versus Billy Quarantillo. Excuse me. Quarantillo. Billy Q, man. Am I really going with Billy Q? I think I am. Cub Swanson is a killer. He lives up to his nickname. He's just on the wrong side of 40 now. That's the thing. And that is very real. Billy Q, ups and downs, more downs than ups recently, but a very game fighter. Not to say that Cub Swanson isn't, but I'm going to just go with Billy Q, just a little bit younger, a little bit more active. Like, that's really the foundation of this pick. I'll say by decision. Moving on. And that was the co-main event, actually. We're almost done. Moving on to the main event, obviously. New Monza, Joaquin Buckley versus Colby Covington. This is tricky, really, just because if Colby Covington has a return to form, it's going to actually be a hard fight for Joaquin Buckley. It's not going to be easy. He's not just going to walk through him. If the most recent version of Colby that we saw versus Leon, if that Colby shows up, I legitimately think that Joaquin Buckley finishes him by KO TKO. And brutally, too. I'm leaning Joaquin Buckley regardless. I should say that up front. I'm leaning him regardless. Joaquin Buckley has been on a fucking tear. He's looked better and better. Still, he is younger than Colby Covington. Notably younger, too. I just think it's time. It's New Monza's time. It's New Monza's turn, really. Colby might... And it's like I said, it depends on the form that Colby Covington shows up in. If Colby can show us that he's returned to a good physical form, he can get takedowns, even work some striking, it's going to be a really fucking tough fight for Joaquin. If not, Joaquin probably wins. And because of that, I'm going to go with Joaquin Buckley. I am going to go with Joaquin Buckley by finish. I'm actually going to say by round 2 KO TKO. But it's not like Colby Covington is completely torn to the wolves. I think that this is the fight that we're going to say that we can actually confidently make that assessment. That's really it. That's all the fights. I will see you tonight. Hopefully I see you tonight for the Smoky Hours Fight Companion. It will be on at 6:45, around when the fights start. We watch every fight, early prelim to end. We're there the entire time, chilling, smoking, sometimes drinking, sometimes chatting, sometimes coping, sometimes tweaking. We do it all. Don't be a stranger. Pull up. Thank you for watching. And as always, much love. Big kiss.